We want to turn now to some disturbing new video out of South Georgia, and we want to warn you in advance it is graphic and may be difficult to watch. Take a look. This is 23-year-old Ahmaud Arbery. Police say that he was gunned down while out for a jog back in February. This week, new video surfaced of that shooting, and today the decision that a grand jury will review the case and decide if the two men should be tried for murder. ABC's Steve Osunsami joins us now with more. Steve.
Lindsay, the video recorded on someone's cell phone is difficult to watch. It shows the moment in February when 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery is killed.
And you kept... Oh, Lord. Oh, rest in peace, man.
He looks like he is simply jogging towards the men with guns who are stopped in a white pickup truck. This is in Brunswick, Georgia, near the Florida line. And according to police, the two men had chased him to this spot, thinking that he was somehow connected to recent break-ins in the neighborhood. According to this police report, the two men are a father and son, the two men with guns, Gregory and Travis McMichael. The son is the one seen on camera shooting the young black man at least once at close range. And what has really hindered this investigation is the following fact. The father, seen in the video inside the truck, is a former investigator with the local district attorney. Because of this, the DA in the county where this happened had to send the case to another DA who also had a conflict of interest for the same reason. And now there's a third DA who is working this case. The father and son told police that they were making a citizen's arrest and that the 25-year-old fought back, which isn't clear in the video, and that he was shot and killed in an act of self-defense. But the young man was unarmed, and according to his family, he loved to jog and was out running just a few miles from his home. The latest prosecutor, who only started investigating this case on April 13th, decided today that this case needs to be put before a grand jury. But because of COVID-19, that won't happen until the courts reopen in the middle of June. And no one has been charged in this case at this point. The young man's family wants the truth and justice for their son. His friends believe that the white men with guns mistook him for someone else. There are calls for the U.S. Justice Department to investigate. Steve Osunsami, ABC News, Atlanta.
Our thanks to Steve for that report. We're joined now by Lee Merritt. He's the attorney for the Arbery family. Thanks so much for joining us, Mr. Merritt.
Thank you for having me.
So first, let's talk about this video. You said that someone posted it anonymously on the internet. How did you find it? And has the prosecutor's office said anything to you about this video?
We knew the video existed. It appears in a statement from the previous district attorney, George Barnhill. We found it after a coach was sent a link anonymously, and he forwarded it over to me, a coach of Ahmaud Arbery.
So the two armed men in that video reportedly said that there had been several break-ins in the area and that they were using a citizen's arrest statute in Georgia to justify the shooting. What do you say to that?
Well, that is a recent invention. What they said initially, what my client was told, the mother of Ahmaud Arbery, was that he was involved in a burglary and that the homeowner that he was burglarizing used deadly force in order to stop him. Obviously, that's not what happened here under this video. But even the video that was, even the lie that was later told that they were performing a citizen's arrest is undermined by this video. This video shows a man jogging down the road. He was cut off. They inserted themselves in his path with wielding weapons, and he had no other choice but to clash with them, and he was killed.
So Ahmaud was shot and killed more than 2 months ago. We're talking about February 23rd. So why has it taken so long for prosecutors to decide that the case should go to a grand jury?
The short answer is because George McMichael used to work in a prosecutor's office and has a lot of friends in the law enforcement community. The more complicated answer does have something to do with COVID-19, and it's being used in a lot of ways as a scapegoat. The state of Georgia, the Supreme Court of Georgia, shut down the grand jury process. And so this case can't be presented to a grand jury. That does not mean that these men can't be arrested. The district attorney has the authority to independently directly indict these men for the crimes that they clearly committed in this video. They have the authority to do that when there's clear and compelling evidence like the video that we saw today.
Right. And again, just to reiterate that the two men in the video have not been arrested. You're saying that this is COVID-19 related, but I have to imagine that if people are seen in videos potentially shooting someone who dies, COVID-19 is not an adequate explanation of why.
Right. There's not an adequate explanation for why the arrest hasn't been made. The only thing that the coronavirus helps us explain is why a grand jury has not been impaneled to formally indict these men.
Now, because of the suspect's ties to law enforcement community, you have said that you have concerns about the investigation. Can you elaborate on that? I know you've talked a little bit about it already.
Sure. Any legal expert who is looking at this video is going to conclude that these men committed murder. Instead, you had a friend of one of the men involved, a friend of George McMichael or Gregory McMichael, say that offer a defense that these men were engaged in some sort of citizen's arrest. The connection to a citizen arrest is so unattainable that they had to come up with some other theory about how the shooting happened that just simply doesn't make sense.
So you don't think that that at all is a viable explanation, the idea of a citizen's arrest, that they thought that this was the guy that they had seen apparently on some surveillance video breaking into people's homes?
That's correct. The important reason why it could not be a citizen's arrest is that under that statute, a citizen would actually have to observe a crime taking place. Ahmaud Arbery has only observed running down the road. And even if there's something that we didn't see off camera, these men gave statements to law enforcement, and they said, we saw him, the worst that he was ever been accused of was looking into a home that was under construction. That is by no stretch of the imagination a burglary or any crime whatsoever. And so without a crime, there's no purpose for a citizen's arrest.
All right, Lee Merritt, we thank you so much for your time. I'm sure we are going to be hearing a lot about this case in the coming days and weeks.